You're listening to the Digital Deep Dive, where we tackle the newest trends, strategies, and pain points shaping growth across the digital landscape. From Amazon and D2C to international expansion, join our host and e-commerce leaders across multiple industries for in-depth discussions on how to maximize your brands in the digital arena. Now, here's your host, Aaron Conant.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Deep Dive podcast. I'm your host, and today we're going to have a conversation around getting back to the basics. Got a great friend, partner, supporter of the network for, pretty much, I think, since we kicked this off, Michael Zakkour over at 5 New Digital. And we're recently doing a webinar together, and we just started getting into a great discussion around the current state and monitoring what's taken place over the past few years, the number of new players that have jumped in, the number of new service providers, potential tactics, strategies, trends, pain points, whatever it might be. And yet getting back to the basics was key. And so, Michael, I'm going to kick it over to you. If you want to do a brief intro on yourself and 5 New Digital, that would be awesome. Thanks for jumping on and allowing me to pick your brain for the next hour or so. But yeah, I'll kick it over to you, Michael.
Yeah, thanks, Aaron. It's good to be back on as always. My name is Michael Zakkour. I'm the founder and chief strategist at 5 New Digital. We are a research and strategy firm focused on retail, e-commerce, integrated commerce, the new retail model, unified commerce. We work with global brands, retailers, CPGs, manufacturers, and tech companies on navigating what's turning out to be now an entirely disrupted e-commerce, digital commerce, and retail universe. So, if we look back to how e-commerce initially disrupted retail over the last 10, 15 years, we see e-commerce itself being disrupted. We've seen, I think, some slowdowns in the e-commerce universe, and we'll talk a little bit about why. I think part of that is people forgetting the basics. So that's who I am, and that's what we do, and looking forward to a good chat with you, Aaron.
Yeah. No, always a pleasure to have you on, Michael. So what do you see when we think about getting back to the basics? I was highlighting just some of the stuff that I've seen, especially the new technology, the new service provider side. Like everybody's got a silver bullet that's going to, help you easily win, increase conversion. And, I think sometimes people have gotten lost. I shouldn't say lost. They're drowning in the potential, quote unquote, opportunities that are out there of partnerships to make and strategies and everything else. And you were just mentioning like the e-commerce universe a little bit. Like, how do you parse that apart?
Yeah, I listen, this is my purpose in life. I wake up and I live and breathe what's happening in technology and retail. And my job is to absorb all that information, parse it, separate the real from the vapor, and, bring the best of that to my clients so that they can profitably grow. And, I think getting back to basics starts with being profitable, right? We've seen so many service providers or brands who have spent the last 5 or 10 years incentivized to grow and grow and grow at the expense of, profit and margin. So getting back to basics is we're in business to make money, right? So we start there. And the question then is, okay, in this integrated retail environment where, it's done now, right? The cat's out of the bag. You have to integrate online and offline and technology and content and supply chain to be successful today, right? That's just table stakes. What I think is getting lost is how do we make a profit doing it? Some of the basics of just good branding. I think the obsession with performance marketing has had a detrimental effect on the growth and sustainability where brands and retailers and CPGs come into play. And I think, listen, we're all being drowned in information and new technologies, new offers. So I think what's happening is e-commerce itself, digital commerce, right now is going through a disruption that's not too far off from the disruption that e-commerce actually caused in the retail industry over the last 10, 15 years. And so brands, retailers, CPGs have to ask themselves, what's different? Why is this not working? How do we grow? How do I, my God, deal with, cost of consumer acquisition that's just gone through the roof? How do I deal with, digital advertising that is, questionable at best in results? And how do I deal with, disrupted logistics and fulfillment? And so my answer is you go back to the basics and you say, if you're a retailer, a brand, CPG, and whether you're selling online, offline, or you have it well integrated, you still have the same mission, right? Drive traffic, drive conversions, drive basket size, and then the hardest part of all, drive retention and lifetime value. And so getting back to basics is, how do we do that?
Yeah, I want to make a couple of those things, just dive a little deeper, because every one of those ways is where money is going out the door. And I think you're right. The profitability piece is key, right? For years now, you could operate an unprofitable business and money just kept flowing in. There's a next round of investment. There's new PE, VC money that was out there pouring in and say, hey, just keep growing. And at some point in time, we can turn on the profit spigot. Well, if you didn't already turn it on, now a lot of these companies are, I don't know if reeling is the right word, but they're taking a step back, doing exactly what you're talking about. Is number one, we're in business to make money. And so one of those, though, is when you're talking about even on the fulfillment aspect, I still have people trying to ship out of a single warehouse in, maybe it's on the East Coast, maybe it's on the West Coast, and trying to use a single one to hit the entire US and not realizing this, forward deployment of inventory. We have a friend, right? Corey, actually the episode before this one, Da Vinci Micro Fulfillment, has a brilliant business model and literally saving people money by forward deploying inventory. And I know you have a ton of experience in that space. Any thoughts around the fulfillment aspect where people, can save dollars?
Yeah, listen, with fulfillment, I've long held the view that fulfillment is as important a part of the consumer journey and experience as any other that's closer to the top or the middle of the funnel, right? Listen, whether you're in a physical store or you're receiving a package, the wow moment, the oxytocin, the thrill comes with you having the product in your hand, right? And so how that product is delivered to you, when it's delivered to you, what that experience is really, really important. And, the big problem that we all have as merchants is it costs a lot to go fast, right? So service levels in fulfillment, you can be fast and expensive, or you can be slow and cheap. That's number one. Number two, you have to now really, again, get back to basics and say, not every customer wants it in 1 day or 2 days, right? And so I think brands and retailers need to step back and say, we need to offer more options and have a tiered approach to fulfillment. Some people want it in 2 days. Some people could take a sweater for 5 days and that's fine. And so, really finding the right tiered approach, the right solution providers, and, the customer experience through fulfillment is so important. And, that's getting back to basics, just, providing delight at the moment that the customer takes possession of the product, no matter what habitat they're shopping in.
Yeah. To that point, Amazon's done that at checkout, right? You get the option. Do you want a $1, $2, $3, Prime Video credit, digital content credit, if you'll take this on Saturday or a Thursday, as opposed to the next day delivery? Yeah.
Well, on that point, I think it was May 4th or 5th, Amazon announced a new program where they will pay you $10 if you come and pick up your product. So, I mean, on orders of $25 or more, but, that's incredible. If you think about that, I can buy a $30 product, go pick it up myself and get $10 back for it. And that's just indicative, right? And you and I always talk about this. Your two profit margin decretion points are the cost of consumer acquisition and the cost of fulfillment, right? And so getting back to basics, is saying my two great enablers for my business, whether I'm a brand or a retailer or a CPG or a manufacturer, are all things tech, IT, data science. Now, some people would argue in AI on one side. And then the other great enabler is operations, supply chain, logistics, and fulfillment. If you get the cost structure and the people, processes, and technology right for those two great enablers, now you can go up the pyramid towards profitability. And what you fill that pyramid in with is spoiling the consumer, right? That one demand that the consumer has: spoil me, or else I will find a brand, a retailer, an online platform who will. Right. So, but you got to start with those enablers. That's getting back to basics, telling great stories, providing great content. And most of all, especially when it comes to digital commerce, we all have to work hard, and the tools are there now to turn it from a two-dimensional flat screen, scroll and click buying experience to an immersive shopping, social, fun experience. And it's that transition, that evolution, which is at the heart of the e-commerce disruption we're going through right now. How do you transition from e-commerce to immersive commerce? How do you evolve from omni-channel, which is just having several channels, to unified commerce?
Yeah, I think, and you've kind of championed that word, unified commerce. Because it is. And I like that differentiation, because as everybody's exploded into omni-channel over the past few years, we now have this point where it seems like things are calming down just a little bit. Things are slowing down. And, from a business aspect, everybody wants to keep growing at a rapid pace and doubling year over year. But in reality, a lot of e-com teams are taking a deep breath and saying, finally, all right, now, how do we connect everything? Right? How are all these different systems working together? We've got a great partner over at Day's End Consulting, huge Shopify consultant, not building websites, but the sole function is to go in, right, and analyze the tech stack, rationalize it out, and then build it and connect everything that needs to be connected and talking that's not today. And just that simple task, although you have a high upfront cost, the back end, it's like near immediate ROI, because everybody's stuck in every tool. I mean, we were talking a little bit before this call, around how much technology has popped up over the past few years, because, new capital was everywhere and everybody was trying to find the next best thing. And the reality is a lot of it was, as you were saying, right, a solution looking for a problem. Mm-hmm. And going around saying, hey, I think you have a problem. Look, I can fix it. And people didn't even know they had the problem, but then they were worried that they might have the problem. So they just signed up for it. And now we have these, grossly inflated tech stacks, and just needs rationalization. Again, getting back to the profitability piece, but also getting to everything's connected, right? Like you're taking the data feeds and you're analyzing the different inputs from all the different places that you're selling and advertising. So crazy.
Yeah, listen, when I founded 5 New Digital 4 years ago, you saw it. You were there for the birth. The front page of our capabilities deck said unified commerce. We help you unify everything. We integrate your online, your offline, your technology, your supply chain, and your content to build an ecosystem. This company was born for that purpose, in tandem with helping companies navigate the new retail model, And, we've been hyper focused for the last couple of years on building this immersive commerce program and experience. That's been a huge growth engine for our business, where companies are finally saying, oh, there are things I can do now, right, to really make a difference. Where am I going to make a difference? Decreasing CAC, decreasing logistics costs, right? And live streaming today, May 10th, front page of the New York Times had a story about live streaming and all the benefits that it brings to brands and retailers. Again, we've been doing live streaming in our shop for 6 years. We've been big advocates of it. Why? It's proven that conversion rates are 30 to 40%. Return rates are 10% versus 40%. And most importantly, when we do a live stream, especially from the flagship stores of our brand and retail clients, the most amazing metrics isn't how many products we sold in that hour. We look at the numbers in the 4 weeks following, and we see foot traffic in the physical store increase 35%. We see visits to the website increase 40%. We see conversion rates bump up to 10 to 15% for 2 months. So, for a couple $1,000s and an iPhone, you've just brought your CAC down from maybe $400 down to $15, and you have a much higher conversion rate and a much better experience in building LTV. So that's just live streaming. That's one example.
When you get into, like, when you say immersive commerce, like, do you want to, what do you mean by immersive commerce? As people are, taking some notes. Like,
yeah,
it is live streaming. It's
yeah. So I kind of coined the phrase immersive commerce about 2 years ago. And it was the result of my having conversation after conversation with retail executives, C-suite guys at brands, really, really smart e-commerce people, and, asking questions about what is the metaverse. And, that was all we heard for about a year and a half was metaverse. And what I found was people thought that the metaverse was just a place to go and build a 3D immersive environment that we'd all live in, and we'd have goggles, and we would do our taxes and shop and have parties in there. And that just did not resonate with brand owners and retailers and CPGs. That's not a world they were prepared to build or operate in. Okay. What I did was I shifted the conversation. My aha moment was, with all the trillions of dollars that have been put into building digital commerce tools, measurement tools, ad tools, there's one thing that hasn't changed in 15 years for the most part. And that is the experience of shopping online. Like I said, it's 2D, it's a flat screen, it's scroll, click, maybe buy, right? And immersive commerce is about bringing the experience and the tools that make it a social two-way street. So live streaming, shoppable video, pre-recorded shoppable video, product images that are 3D and you're able to manipulate them. AR, geez, guys, it's so easy, right? Put the AR in your app on your phone and let somebody point their phone at their feet and see 200 pairs of sneakers on their feet. Or let them point, at their wrist and see what 10 different watches look like. And so what I think is what we're really seeing is, my idea is you take the metaverse and you put it in a corner and you say that's something that is developing and will mature over the course of several years. And it's going to have something to do with the plumbing and how the front end of the internet looks. Okay. In the meantime, the real action to lower CAC, increase traffic, increase conversions, et cetera, is in immersive commerce. So I'll just give you one example. If you go to the Kiehl's website, which is a masterpiece of digital commerce to begin with, they have a button that you can click to enter their virtual store. Okay, so you're not leaving the website. You go into the virtual store, and it's a photorealistic recreation of a Kiehl's store. And they have products on the shelves. They have a digital human avatar who's your host. Oh my God, you've actually got somebody in the store working there. They have great quizzes and contests. You can buy if you want. Amazing. So there is a place in retail and digital commerce for virtual environments, right? They're not expecting you to go into the virtual environment and 80% of sales are going to be there. But what it's done is conversion rates for people who go to Kiehl's website and go into that store are 16%, as opposed to 5% for the people who don't go in. So that's a great example of immersive commerce that you can, another thing I like is Walmart Land on Roblox, so that you didn't have to. I spent 7 hours roaming around there and getting the full experience. And it's really, really good. It's really good. It's fun. They have, Netflix inside there. They have movies. They have trivia contests. They have missions and coin collecting. And it's awesome, right? And it really connects you back to the Walmart experience. So immersive commerce is just that, immersing the consumer into your world. We talk about experiential retail. You build that through immersive commerce. And I'll finish is you have to marry that with what we call 3C integration. How do you marry content, community, and commerce? That is the future, right? So getting back to basics is great experiences, great selection, great prices, great stories, great branding. Remember that you're there to connect with people, and it's not just about performance marketing.
Yeah, no, so true. It's that store, that shopping experience that people do like. I mean, that's one thing that came out of the pandemic. Okay? There's this one side was saying, hey, it's going to change forever. And it's going to, a lot of retail is going to completely go away. And there was a small portion of it. But, again, one of the phrases that you like to use is a retail renaissance, right? Which is it wasn't like Armageddon for all of retail and it went away. We had some players that didn't manage it well. We're still seeing players not manage it well, recently with like Bed Bath & Beyond and everything that's going on there. But there's a good chunk of stores that are still around, retailers that are still around and are winning. And I think they will be around for a long time. But again, it's a constant evolution, right? And it's staying on top of things.
When I brought the unified commerce idea to the fore about 5 years ago, my primary statement was physical stores will matter. They will continue to matter, and they are of extreme importance, and they are still the centerpiece of the integrated retail world, right? And what happened 7 years ago, 6 years ago, when all the headlines were about the retail apocalypse, every stage or microphone I got in front of, I said, no, we have a store apocalypse where, yes, tens of thousands of old school legacy retailers are closing their stores. And the problem is the term store and retail are not interchangeable. Retail is everywhere. And retail has grown exponentially over the last 10 years. It's everywhere, right? It's on your laptop. It's on your phone. It's in sophisticated vending machines. Retail is everywhere. In fact, I'm working with a company right now who is empowering influencers to be retailers. So instead of the influencer getting paid to promote a brand or do a video about a brand, they actually now with a simple QR code can go into any store, anywhere, scan that code, and while they're talking to their 100,000 followers, those followers can buy that product in screen in real time. And why this is effective is because the followers really see that the influencer is showing them how they like to shop and where they live, and they're buying what they want, not what they're being paid to hawk, right? And how does it work? The retailer pays the influencer a commission. So we see now, oh my God, actual people are going to become retailers, right? So not just 100 channels, people can be retailers, and so that's, boy, if that's not immersive, I don't know what is.
Yeah, it's almost like, and it's easier for smaller companies, but for larger organizations, larger brands, they need this time. They need like a digital retreat. They need to step away from the business for 2 or 3 days and take a deep breath and then reevaluate everything that's possible. Because what you're describing is a fundamental change that has to take place. It's easier for small and medium businesses to do it than it is for large organizations. They just can't. But they need the full-blown plan. Here's all the possibilities. Here's all the partners that actually work. They've survived. They're beyond Series C. They're big enough. You can connect with them. And oh, by the way, here's the integration plan and every place is going to affect within your organization. And here's the training.
Yeah.
It's a full-blown plan that they need, because I don't see kind of what you're describing, large organizations jumping headfirst into it, because trying to connect a buy in real-time platform to the back end of your ERP is going to be tough. And then paying out, right, commission fee, an affiliate fee to this, influencer is going to be tough to figure it out.
Big organizations are capable of doing this. I know that because we're doing it for, they're coming to us. Yeah, and
everybody just needs to meet you. That's
well, I don't know.
You
about
need
that,
to,
but
you need to clone yourself like 50 times.
Well, it's the core of what we do. And some effective steps that we take with them is, first, we do a unified commerce readiness or maturity audit. Okay. And we say, based on the new retail model and unified commerce, where do you stand? Then we audit you for immersive commerce. We audit you for your marketing tech stack, right? And we kind of give you that current state as is state assessment. And then we develop the plan, the strategy, and the tactics to deal with the new consumption, the new retail, the new technology, the new supply chain that's required to thrive today. And there are some companies who are really going for it. They're out there, they're doing this. Yes, more of them should be doing it. And again, announcement today on May 10th, Party City is going to close another 30 stores because they haven't integrated their online offline experience. And so, again, that's getting back to basics, the new basics, which is, how do you make the online experience more like the physical experience? And then how do you integrate technology to enhance the in-store physical experience, right? Yeah. So take advantage of the retail renaissance, storytelling, good branding, customer service, right? The basics of retail.
Yeah, there's new tools.
There's new tools to do it.
Yeah, use the new tools, but get back to the basics. One of those new tools,
that's it.
We can't not talk about ChatGPT, AI, and I'll give you kind of the rundown of what I'm hearing from brands, which is, kind of we're using it for the first 80%, right? It's going to help write copy, but I still need to go back in and fine tune the copy. It's a little bit off brand, but at least it gets that first 80% done, which isn't always the hardest. So of getting the first 80% done, they say, hey, it makes me somewhere around 14 to 20% more productive in doing that. But that's where I see people using it today, is not full blown, wind it up, let it go and pray for the best. But hey, get this first chunk done, and then I'll take it and I'll iterate on it on my own. And I'll get that next chunk done, and then I'll take it and iterate on it on my own. And that's where people are using it today. And I say that to set a baseline. I know there's some, people way ahead of that and how they're using it. Even people integrating it into their personal lives. I had multiple people plan entire vacations using it. Say, hey, I want to go from here to here. This is my budget. This is how many days, and I'm driving. help plan the vacation, and it will be pretty much dead on. It's pretty interesting. But where do you see AI coming in right now?
Yeah, well, I think it goes without saying we're just at the birth stage of figuring out. Listen, AI has been with us for a long time, but it's largely been in the hands of massive technology companies who are using it to, build algorithms and self-learning algorithms. The big thing that happened 6 months ago is it's been put in the hands of everyday people like you and me. So you could be a small boutique consulting firm or a small up and coming brand, and my God, you have this power of artificial intelligence, right? It is going to, in my opinion, have a major impact on the retail and e-commerce industries. Starting with what you talked about, content. Most brands and CPGs, their biggest problem is they need to create massive amounts of content. I was talking to the CTO of one of the biggest cosmetics retailers in the world a couple weeks ago, and he said every time they do a campaign, they need 2,000 pieces of content for a national campaign. Wow, that's a lot of content. And, he's already using artificial intelligence to help, make up ground on those. If you look at what some other companies are doing, one that just blew me away was a few weeks ago, I got an email from OpenTable. And, I use them to book. And they announced that they're integrating ChatGPT into OpenTable to make restaurant recommendations. So I think that was a really interesting one because it was an easy integration that created a value-added service right off the bat for them. And, it would recommend based on your history, but more importantly, it recommends on your prompts. I want an Asian fusion where they, create delicate, pretty, sushi pieces, whatever it might be. I think another company that's doing something interesting, North Face, is using IBM's Watson cognitive computing technology. So you can have a conversation with the AI about where you plan on wearing these clothes in the coat, what kind of activities you'll be doing. I'm hiking, I'm camping, I'll be in a sleeping bag. And then North Face actually makes personalized recommendations. So we talk about personalization, which we all know we weren't at the point where you could do real one-on-one customization, right? You could do it in groups. Well, now AI can actually customize the product recommendation for you based on the prompts. One more that I like is Neiman Marcus has already implemented it. They're doing something called the Snap. It's a Snap Find Shop. It's an app that lets you take pictures of items that you see while you're out and about anywhere. And then it searches the entire Neiman Marcus inventory to find the same item or a similar item and put it right in front of you for a one-click buy. So, pretty cool stuff that's already being implemented. I just think from also, just optimizing data, right? We've heard for years that data is the new oil. The problem is we spill thousands of gallons of oil into the metaphorical ocean, right? Every month. We have all this data. Some of it flows out and doesn't get used. So, optimizing your media strategy, optimizing retail media, optimizing product placement, optimizing fulfillment. All of these things are going to impact how we, operate digital commerce and retail, and has to be part of that conversation of getting back to basics, but realizing that there are tools out there and channels out there that you have to deal with and integrate it into your basics.
Yeah, I always think about it from the standpoint of, the people who are executing, they've got the double job of executing as well as, teaching upwards within the organization. And I do love the back to the basics, because you can essentially go to the leadership team and say, listen, the ideals around what we want to do have not changed, but how we're doing them has, and we need to do them, and the partners we need to do this with have completely changed. And that doesn't mean that what you did in the past was wrong, right? You made the best decision at that point in time. And we all have the same goal, which is to grow this company. And now those players have just changed. And, because I think a lot of times leadership teams get a little, I don't know, defensive that, maybe they don't understand digital quite as well. Maybe, they don't know the players quite as well. They don't know how to gauge if something's a success or not. And therefore they resist the change out of the lack of knowledge, and, or just, being defensive. Hey, I did what these are the people that I chose. Like, yes, and you're telling me they're wrong. And the answer is, yeah, they're wrong now, but they weren't wrong when you chose them. We just need to adapt.
That is so right. I mean, everything you said there is right. And this morning I saw a tweet, and the woman said, the problem with upselling or explaining to management how to market to Gen Z is that there's no degree or no experience except spending thousands of hours on social with Gen Z. That's how you come up with the right marketing plan for them. So, yeah, I mean, a lot of this, and I think, it starts at the top, and it should be, through the organization to say, look, our job is to be focused on the consumer or the customer 100%. We've always done that, but the ground has changed. But our basics are serve the customer, and as a business to get profitable through traffic, conversions, basket size, subscription, and LTV. That's always been the goal. Those are the basics. Good branding, throw it in, but the landscape has changed. And if you don't move towards unified commerce, you don't move towards immersive commerce, and you don't embrace the intersection of data science and AI, you're going to have a hard time keeping up.
I've been picking your brain for the past, 40 minutes or so. Any questions for me? Thanks for letting me pick your brain.
Yeah,
I always like to carve out some time at the end for kind of like the Ask Aaron.
Yeah, you're in such a unique position. You literally talk to 1,000 brands and retailers and CPG people every year. So I'd just be curious to find out where you're hearing pain points. What are brands and retailers and CPGs telling you that, here's where we're really struggling, and here's where we're having a hard time finding the solutions on one side. And then I'd also be interested to hear, I think there's a bit of a culling of service providers. There's been maybe a saturation on it. I'd be interested in that too, but maybe just starting with, what are the brands and retailers telling you? Where are their pain points?
I mean, number one, you nailed it, which was profitability. And so where are they looking to solve it? First place, it would just e-commerce as a whole is Amazon. The chargeback fines recovery spot of Amazon is just exploding right now. It was a profit center, I would say, for Amazon for a long time. Now there's enough tech out there that you can just crunch through it pretty quick. So people are trying to, as we think about profitability, that's it. I mean, you're right on the pulse of it as well. The fulfillment aspect. There's, I don't think people realize, especially as something that's a little bit heavier, you can actually go with one of these digital age 3PLs like a DaVinci and save money. And they don't realize that. They think, hey, I'm building somebody else in. No, if you can forward deploy that inventory and get it to the end consumer, that's something that they want. That's, maybe it's a beverage or something. Like, people don't want to wait 5 days. They had the need, they ordered it, they want it to show up the next day. Maybe they're running now. So the fulfillment aspect of it, you hit customer acquisition cost are through the roof. Facebook not performing like it used to. Amazon, the PPC side of Amazon is a whole lot more expensive. I have brands that, if I talk to them, 7 months ago, their PPC to DSP budget on Amazon was, I'll say 35, 65. So 35% DSP, 65% PPC. That's inverted now. It's 65% DSP. Because
for the audience sake, if everybody doesn't know what DSP is, maybe just hit on that for a second.
Yeah, it's their demand side platform for advertising. So think of, it's not the banner ads that pop up right there, but the ones that follow you around. There's so much inventory there, and you can be so specific that you get away from all the muddiness. If anybody looks at an Amazon search query now, and you type in socks, 7 of the 10 results are going to be ads. It seems like maybe it's only 6, but you get out of the muddiness of all those ads that are there. So that's something that they're addressed. And then, right now people are doing a massive evaluation of their tech stacks. What's going on in direct consumer. I signed up for, 85 different things over the pandemic that I thought I needed. And now I realize I'm not using, 2/3 of them. And then the 1/3 that I do need, it was so overwhelming to connect them to everything. I didn't connect them to anything. And so, that's where a day's end has been coming in a lot, helping people out. Like, what does that rationalization look like? That one thing that I think, and you and I were chatting about this a little bit beforehand, the connected TV, the OTT CTV, paid media space, streaming ads. When we talk about ad fraud, it's almost as big as it is on the traditional paid search social side. And that it's just massive, probably in the billions of dollars that are not hitting the targeted audience. And we're seeing new players pop up that take the place of the trade desk and actually can deliver the ad to, the person on a Roku device streaming a BritBox show that likes Keels. You can give them that ad, and you're not hitting 100 people around it. You're not hitting everybody in that zip code. You're hitting that person. And therefore there's going to be a drastic reduction in overall spend. But it all gets back to, like you said at the beginning, it's profitability, because all the costs are going up across the board. How much money people have to spend is going down. And so you're battling, for that dollar with multiple other brands. And it's fewer dollars than it used to be.
Yeah. And you could take a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of that money that you're spending that's really not doing what you think it's supposed to be doing, and take a month or two to step back, get a couple good minds in, and reassess where you're at, how to get back to basics. And say what are the people, processes, tools, technologies, and channels that will really give me ROI. That's not filtered by 6 agencies by the time it gets back to you. And they exist. And so this is what, Keels, going back to Keels virtual store, right? For a very modest investment, you're getting real-time data, you're getting higher conversion, right? Live streaming, same thing. You're getting first-party data, higher conversions, lower returns, lower reverse logistics. And so, as we come close to the end of the hour, I just can't emphasize enough that it's a time to step back and say, how does unified commerce, immersive commerce, and the 3 C's, content, community, commerce, what do I do that? How do I get the basics of retail right in that environment?
No, I totally agree. And, Michael, thanks. I mean, you're helping a ton of brands out in the network, and there's, we're approaching 9,000 at this point in time. Yep. So I do appreciate how much you pour into the community as well. anybody who's listening, Michael Zakkour at 5 New Digital. Follow him on LinkedIn. Check out his website. He's just helping a ton of brands, moderate this ever-changing, more rapidly changing space than ever before. Worth a follow if you're looking for help in any of that area. If anybody would like to talk, I love, as Michael pointed out, I try to connect with 1,000 brands, retailers, organizations every year on digital strategy. More than happy to spend time. Just ping me on LinkedIn, Aaron Conant, and we'll find time to connect. And with that, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Digital Deep Dive. Thanks everybody for your time today. Thanks, Michael.